All right, so in today's video, we're going to discuss the salesperson or the agent-broker relationship. And it is an important concept that you have to realize or know because it's going to help you be better prepared for your real estate licensing exam. So we're going to talk about not only the relationship, but also the structure of a company and the difference between an employee and an independent contractor, which 99% of all real estate professionals are. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about is kind of outline or give you the 50,000 foot view of what a company looks like. So it all starts what we call the designated broker. The designated broker. Now the designated broker is the one person in a real estate company that's in charge. They have a broker's license. They typically have a trust account because that's going to be mandated by the state real estate commission. Now this designated broker, this one person, can be one person shop. So this could just be their own real estate brokerage firm, or they can take on salespersons and associate brokers. All right. So they're either one person or they can take on supervisory role of, let's say, salespersons and associate brokers. Now, I do want to clarify for those that work in states where there's only one license. Many states have two licenses. They'll have the salesperson's license, and then one level higher is what's called an associate broker's license. Other states like Colorado, they only have one license, and that is a broker's license. Either way, there's only one designated broker, and then anybody that works under the designated broker is a salesperson or associate broker. The point is this one person supervises the activities of all the other licensees below them. Now, the designated broker, keep this in mind, does not have to be the owner of the company. So a non-licensed person or corporation can own the real estate company, but they have to hire a broker to fill that role as the designated broker. All right, so this is typically how it's set up. Now, understand, there are companies out there that have hundreds, thousands of sales associates working under one designated broker. All right, so that's a concept that you have to know. The other thing you have to know is this real estate firm or the designated broker can be managing other entities as well. And so it's not uncommon in today's real estate world where real estate companies have what we call ancillary revenue streams. So they might have title companies or abstract companies that they own. They might have a mortgage company that they own or they have a business relationship with. It could be inspection companies. These are all service type related industries that a company can either own under their umbrella or that they have financial relationships with. And we are going to discuss that financial relationship in a different video because it is a concept that you do need to know for your exam as well as a practitioner in this business. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about here is the relationship specifically between, let's say, a salesperson and the designated broker or an associate broker and the designated broker. There's some things that you need to know. First of all, what's their employment status? All right, so we might have I'm going to do this over here. The difference between an employee and what we call an independent contractor. Now, in every state, all 50 states, real estate professionals are considered an independent contractor. Now, I would say there's probably 1% of the licensed agents that are out there that are actually employees of the broker. My experience with that has been in new construction. Some brokers that are also a new construction company, they will have sales associates that are required to be licensed and they are actual employees, but that is very, very rare. All right, so most real estate agents are independent contractors, the downline here. All right, so what's the difference? Here's what you need to know. Number one, employees receive salaries or pay. And that could be monthly, it can be every 2 weeks, weekly, whatever the case may be, but the employer pays the employee a salary. Independent contractors, they collect what's called a commission. A commission. The second thing is the employer is paying the Social Security tax, the income tax, the unemployment tax, and so on and so forth for their employee. So an independent contractor, they pay all these taxes. They are responsible for paying those taxes that the employer normally would. The next one is the employer can require an employee to work certain hours. All right, they can determine their employees' schedules. And on the independent contractor side, the broker cannot set hours. They can't set any kind of work hours or mandate any kind of hours. They can't do that. All right? The next major one is they can require training, certain types of training. Over here, the agent or the independent contractor is responsible for any kind of training. Now, understand the brokerage firm might have their in-house training program, but independent contractors cannot be required to attend some or all. That's why many brokers will incentivize an agent to come to training. But on the other hand, think about it. You're getting in the business because this is your own business and you want to do well. So typically it's not a big issue for the broker to get the agents to come to training. And then the last thing I want to talk about, because this for whatever reason seems to be becoming more and more popular in today's world, dress code. And that is they can require certain dress codes as an employer-employee relationship. Over here, no dress code. No dress code whatsoever. That's the other part of it. The biggest one, though, is setting hours, paying taxes, and how they receive compensation. Those are the biggest differences between an independent contractor, which the downline of a designated broker, that's what they are, the salespeople and the associate brokers. All right? All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is the relationship here between the salesperson or the associate broker and the designated broker. There's a legal relationship that we have to know for our real estate licensing exam, and then also it'll clarify why we do certain things in the industry the way that we do moving forward. All right, so the relationship here, so the relationship between these two parties is what we call a general agency. General agency. Now, I did a video on agency relationships not too long ago. I'm going to leave a link right up here in the upper right-hand corner. And if you want to go check out that video after this one is done, I encourage you to do it. And I actually explain how this is. But the reason it's a general agency is because the salesperson or the associate broker can literally speak on behalf of their designated broker, and they can bind their designated broker to the decisions that they make. Let me give you an example. The listing contract. The listing contract is the contract that we use to put a home up for sale. It is for the you have to understand that the listing contract is between the seller and the designated broker. Even though the designated broker didn't go on the listing appointment, they've never met the seller, it's the listing agent, it's the salesperson or the associate broker that is the one that went out and procured that seller. And it's the salesperson or the associate broker that's going to actually sign the listing contract. So they are signing the listing contract on behalf of the designated broker. That's why it's a general agency relationship, and you have to know that for your real estate licensing exam. One other thing I want to point out, I gave you the difference between employee and independent contractor. It is very important that real estate licensees sign what's called an independent contractor agreement. It is a contract between the designated broker and the associate broker, the salesperson, that basically establishes, in case there's audits and those type of things, that in fact the agent is an independent contractor and not an employee. And it'll have the terms and conditions and everything laid out based on specific state laws and regulations. But it's very important that once you end up passing your licensing exam and you go to work for your first broker, that you sign an independent contractor's agreement so we don't jeopardize that whole relationship here between you and your broker. So very important that you do that.